Hey kids, what's going on? I am Mr. Cotton, as you all know, and we're going to be continuing talking about polygons and other 2D shapes today. Now on Monday, y'all should have seen a video with ways to name different types of polygons, especially polygons with more than 4 sides. If you remember correctly, we broke down the words into prefixes and suffixes. So for the first part of our lesson, I kind of want to do something similar because today we're going to be learning about quadrilaterals. So quadrilaterals are special kinds of shapes. Let's kind of break this word down to see what it really means. We have the prefix quad right here. Let's see, I'm going to use green. Quad means 4. So whenever you see this prefix quad, you're going to know that it means 4. And then we have this root word. Remember in reading and writing class, you learned about prefixes, suffixes, and root words. Well, we have the prefix quad, meaning 4, and then we have the root word lateral. Lateral means side, okay? So you literally have this word that means 4-sided figure. So quadrilaterals, I'm sure you're very familiar with them, and we're going to be talking about them today during this lesson, okay? Now, during this lesson, please do not feel like super stressed out or overwhelmed. It's like, oh my God, it's so much. Well, you know, it is kind of a lot. But we're going to be talking about it step by step. And since it's a video, feel free to just pause it at any time that you need and, rewind, go back, rewatch that little section that you might have missed. Or, if you have any questions, again, I am here for you at any time that you want. So please ask me questions. Don't be afraid to do that. Okay, our first shape is going to be a trapezoid. Now, you know exactly what a trapezoid is. So, a trapezoid is actually going to be a quadrilateral. So it has 4 sides. Let's take a look real quick. Why don't we? 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 sides. It's got 4 sides, and there's not really much that's special about a trapezoid except that it can be just about any shape. The only thing that a trapezoid needs is to have 2 sides that are parallel. What does that mean though? We've never really heard that word parallel. Parallel means that it's got these 2 lines right here, for example. And if I extend these lines, I'm going to see that to infinity and beyond, they're never going to touch. Never, ever, ever. So these 2 parallel lines will never, ever touch. That's really all that's going on for a trapezoid. A trapezoid has just 2 sides that are parallel, and that's really it. Now let's talk about some other quadrilaterals. We're going to talk about some that I'm sure you know. We're going to talk about a rectangle here, a rectangle. So a rectangle is a little bit more special than a trapezoid. There's a few more things that it's got going on. And like I said, don't feel overwhelmed. You can pause or rewind any part of this video that you need, okay? So we've got a rectangle. Now rectangles have 2 pairs. So 2 pairs, so that means 4, 2 pairs of parallel sides. And that's going to be this side. So if I keep going with this side, and I keep going with this side to infinity, right? They're never going to touch. They're just going to keep going, and they're never, ever, ever going to touch. But also, look at these 2 sides. These 2 sides are parallel too. So if I keep extending these sides out to infinity, sorry, that line's kind of crooked right there. They're going to go on and on to infinity without ever, ever touching. So it's got 2 pairs of parallel sides. It's got this pair and then it has this pair right here. So that's two pairs of parallel sides. And we also have two pairs of sides that are equal. This side and this side are equal in size. So that means if I took this one and I put it on top of this one, they would be the same line. They would be the same side, right? This is the same length as this one. But look at these two sides. These two sides are also the same length. I'm going to put two little tick marks. This means that these are equal, and that means that these are equal, or as we like to call it in geometry, congruent. So these two sides are equal or congruent, and these two sides are equal or congruent. So for a rectangle, it's really neat. These two sides are parallel, and they're also congruent. These two sides are parallel, and they're also congruent. Another really neat thing about a rectangle is that it's got square corners like this. So I can make square corners like that, okay? These are called right angles, okay? And you're gonna learn more about that whenever you get into higher grades. Okay, those are rectangles. Now let's talk about rhombuses. Let me write the names down. This is a rectangle. This is a trapezoid. Sorry for that. It's crazy. Trapezoid. Boom. And now, let's talk about a rhombus. Now, you've seen rhombuses before. Some of you like to call them little crystal shapes or diamond shapes. But rhombuses have a lot of attributes as well. So, similarly, for a rectangle, a rhombus has two pairs of parallel sides. That means this side is parallel with this side. So no matter how far these two sides go, they will always be parallel. They will never touch. These two sides are also parallel with each other. This one, this one, this one, and this one. No matter how far these two sides go, they will never ever touch. That means they're parallel. One really cool thing about a rhombus is that all of its sides are equal. So this is equal in size, this is equal in size, this is equal in size, and this is equal in size. So all of its sides are equal in length. They are congruent, as we like to call them. Now the only difference is that here, in a rhombus, we don't have square corners. Ooh, let me see if this works. Like this. Nope. Toad's dead. Let's use orange. See how that's not quite a square corner? That means it doesn't have right angles. So for a rhombus, we have two pairs of parallel lines and all sides congruent. That's kind of different from a rectangle because a rectangle has two pairs of sides that are congruent or equal. This side and this side are equal, and then this side and this side are equal. In a rhombus, all of its sides are the same length. They are all congruent. Let's talk about a really special kind of quadrilateral. And I think this is probably most people's favorite, most famous, well-known quadrilateral, the square. Now the square has some really cool attributes that it borrows from both rhombuses and rectangles. I say borrow because we're going to be talking about how a square is actually a rhombus and a square is actually a rectangle. It's kind of interesting. Now a square has also two pairs of parallel sides, so this side and this side are parallel. That means that no matter how far we stretch these sides, they will never touch each other. They will never touch. It's parallel. This side and this side are also parallel with each other. So these two sides are parallel. That means no matter how far they stretch, they'll never touch. So we've got two pairs of parallel lines. This pair of lines is parallel, and this pair of lines is parallel. Yeah? Another really cool attribute about squares is that all of their sides are equal as well. Just like a rhombus. All of its sides are completely equal. They're congruent. Remember that when we went to the rhombus, when we studied the rhombus, all of its sides were congruent? Well, the same goes with a square. With a square, all of its sides are congruent. Another thing that we notice about the square is that it has right angles. All of its angles are right angles. That means they all have square corners. You see that? This is why we say that a square is a rhombus, because a square has all sides congruent and it's got two pairs of parallel sides. That means that a square is a rhombus. That's why we also say that a square is a rectangle, because a square also has two pairs of parallel sides. It's got two pairs of sides that are equal, and all of its corners are right angles, right? So that's what we say, that a square is a rectangle and that a square is a rhombus. Now think about this. Challenge your parents maybe. Are all rhombuses squares? And are all rectangles squares? I don't know. You'll have to tell me. For this week, you will also be completing a lesson in Khan Academy that's going to really help you reinforce some of these ideas. So if you want to pause the video, watch this again, or watch a part that maybe you didn't understand, and then go watch the Khan Academy videos, it should really help explain some of the attributes and some of the things that we talked about here today. Again, if you have any questions, just let me know. I am here for you. All right, kids, happy learning.